Everyone, my name is Anya Scholar Shebali and I am the level 1 student at Rehansko Islamabad campus. So today I am talking with Maya. Title name is Tracking the in Innovations of Music Styles. To start it, Maya.
Hi, what's up? Hey, what's going on with you today?
Maya, my first question for you. How do you think early human emotions and survival insects include the very first forms of the music in incident civilizations.
That's a pretty fascinating question. If I'm hearing you right, you're wondering how emotions might have shaped early music, maybe even connecting it to survival. It's like, did feeling scared or excited lead to the first rhythms and melodies? That makes a lot of sense to me. A strong emotion probably needed some kind of release, and I can see how rhythm or sound could have been that release. What makes you ask about insects too?
This question, sorry,
Heh,
answer.
thanks.
Okay,
Ah,
welcome.
okay, no
My,
worries.
my next question is: in what ways did typical romance and commercial singing shape cultural identity and storytelling is in early societies?
All right, so your next question is about how early love songs or shared singing might have shaped stories and identity. I can definitely see that connection. Singing together probably created this sense of group identity, like everyone feeling connected through the same melody or story. It's easy to imagine the songs themselves becoming stories over time, too. Maybe songs about hunts turned into myths, or love songs became legends about ancestors. Would you say storytelling and music were inseparable for early people?
Um, okay, my next question is: how did incident encouragement like drums, folklore, and lyrics help humans unexpected emotional before language fully?
Okay, so it sounds like you're asking how early interactions, maybe rituals or encouraging words, played into unexpected feelings before people had full language. That's a really interesting point. Maybe early music wasn't even songs, it was just ritualized encouragement or responses to each other that stirred something up before they had words to explain what was happening, like rhythm or movement becoming emotion itself.
Yes.
Yep, go ahead with whatever's on your mind.
My,
I'm listening.
okay, my next question is: what role did music play in various rituals and create memories in incident in Egypt, Memorian, and
So
Greece?
you're okay. I'm not catching a lot of that clearly. Did you say something about music playing a role in rituals and memories with maybe Maya Morian and Greece somehow tied in? The connection between music and memory makes sense. We both use music to remember things or have songs that remind us of a certain memory or moment. Rituals, too, if they used music, could be easier to remember through melodies or songs than just with words alone. What about Greece and the other name?
My next question is: how did oral traditional pervade musical style across generations without variety national?
Okay, so it sounds like you're asking about how musical styles developed and spread across different regions or nations without becoming too uniform. Like, how did different countries keep their musical identities despite influences? Right. Makes sense that music probably found ways to travel and change across borders, but still stay connected to specific places too.
My next
Cool.
question is, how did Greek shape the ideas of harmony and musical theory still used today?
Nice question. So, how did ancient Greece influence harmony and music theory we still use? Honestly, the Greeks were huge on math and saw a direct connection between music and those mathematical ratios, stuff like octaves and perfect fifths. They weren't just aesthetic choices to them, they were based on ratios and their whole concept of modes, different scales that evoke different emotions, shows up in modern music way more than people realize. It's like their ideas became the foundation for music theory.
Question is, what impact does church
Sounds like,
music and Gregorian chants have on the sculptures of Western classical music?
ah, sorry, I'm not following some of that clearly. Could you try rephrasing? It sounds like you're asking about the impact church music and Gregorian chant had on the development of Western classical
Yes.
music. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The church was huge. Gregorian chant, all that plain song, that was like the foundation. From that came the development of more complex harmony, polyphony, and formal music structures. The cathedral musicians really pushed the boundaries of music. And then later on, composers were building off of what the church had already perfected for centuries. Bach, Beethoven, they're all standing on church music's shoulders in a way.
Okay, Maya. Nice answer.
Yeah.
My next question is, how did the development of musical nations change the way people compose and shared music?
Okay, so you're asking how musical notation changed how people wrote and shared music? That's a big one. Before notation was standardized, everything was oral tradition, learned by ear, passed down through generations. But notation let composers get way more specific about what they wanted, and musicians across distances could finally perform the same piece. It also meant composers could become famous even after they died, their music being played by people they never knew. Changed everything.
Yeah. Okay, my next
Yeah, it was a real
okay,
turning
my
point.
next question is for you. What culture difference
Okay, hi,
can we
Mom.
see between Eastern and Western medical musical traditions?
That's a great question. Eastern and Western traditions are so different. Western music, particularly classical, often focuses on harmony and structure, complex chords, melodies building on each other. Eastern music, like Indian or Chinese classical music, tends to be more about melody and improvisation, modal systems that feel totally different than Western scales, and more of a spiritual, meditative focus versus Western music's storytelling or dramatic arcs. The way we even think about scales and rhythm is different. Pentatonic scales in Chinese music versus Western chromatic scales. It's really a different mindset.
Okay, good. My next question is, how did royal courts influence musicians and the popularity of certain styles?
Royal courts played a massive role. Like they were like the original sponsors. Courts hired musicians, commissioned new works, and basically decided who was in. A musician who got a royal gig was set, not only financially, but it meant their style became popular because the court set the trend for the whole country. There's like Handel or Mozart. They were basically celebrities because of royal patronage. Without the courts, a lot of the classical music we know today might never have happened.
Okay, my nice answer. Okay, good. Okay, my next question. How did the Renaissance spell of creativity and discovery transform musical expressions?
The Renaissance was huge for music. That burst of creativity and discovery really pushed things forward. Composers started experimenting with polyphony, multiple melodies happening at once, but not just random, structured. Then there was the rise of humanism, focusing on human experience rather than just religious themes, which meant music started being about love, nature, portraits, stories about human life. Plus, printing presses meant music could finally be spread around easier than ever before.
Okay, my nice answer.
Mhm. Glad you liked it.
Okay, my next question is how did the innovations of the new instruments increase the sound of orchestras?
Hmm. I think I'm not quite getting what you're asking with new and study meds and ostriches. Could you clarify? Maybe I misheard part of that.
How did opera energy as a powerful storytelling art from?
Oh, you mean how did storytelling influence music? Yeah, they've always been completely intertwined. Stories need something to enhance them, rhythm, melody, emotion, and music is perfect for that. Think about how folk ballads were basically news before there were newspapers, telling history and drama. And even big dramatic pieces or operas today are basically just elaborate storytelling set to music. It's amazing how a melody can make you feel something way stronger than just words alone.
Okay, Maya.
All right,
My next
bye.
no Maya.
Sorry, could you
My
repeat
next
that? I didn't quite catch.
okay, my next question is how did composers like Mozart and Beethoven change the emotional depth of music?
Mozart and Beethoven completely changed things. Mozart took classical music. You're welcome.
What Maya say again?
Absolutely. Talk to you later.
Okay, my next question is
Go for it.
what what role did women play in shaping music history during these eras?
That's a really important question. Women weren't given nearly enough credit for centuries. The reality is that they were composers, performers, educators, and patrons, but their work was often overshadowed. For example, women at court, they were composers and played a role in musical life. But they faced so many barriers, they often couldn't publish under their own name. They were discouraged from learning more advanced composition, and their accomplishments were minimized. But there were a few who broke through, like Hildegard of Bingen in the medieval era, or later, Clara Schumann. It's a story about hidden contributions and unfair restrictions.
Okay, my next question is how did oh sorry how did African traditions shape the foundations of blues and jazz music?
That's huge. African traditions are absolutely the foundation of blues and jazz. And West African traditions like call and response, rhythmic complexity, storytelling through music, improvisation, all of that came over with enslaved Africans and transformed into these incredible genres. Blues, particularly, pulls from the work songs and spirituals. And jazz builds on those traditions with even more improvisation, syncopation, and that incredible rhythmic drive. African music is literally the heartbeat of both genres.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, that influence is really central to both of them. What's your
It
next
what?
question?
Okay. In what way did slavers and social culture infuse the emotional power of blues?
Okay, I think you're asking about Edward Watie Said and how cultures influence emotional music. It sounds like you're talking about how different cultures give music meaning.
Okay, my next question is listen.
I'm listening.
Okay. How did rock and roll change your culture in the 1915 and 16?
Ah, you mean rock and roll and its cultural impact in the 1950s and 60s? That was
Yes.
huge. Rock and roll flipped everything. Before that, there was more of a separation between music for different groups. Then this came along that appealed to both black and white audiences. But it wasn't just the music, it was about fashion, dance, and it represented this youth rebellion. Suddenly, teenagers weren't just little kids anymore, they were a cultural force. It was controversial at the time. Parents hated it. Some called it the devil's music, but honestly, it really changed attitudes about sexuality, race, and social values.
Okay, Maya, good answer. My next
I'm
question
glad
is
you.
okay.
Yes, what's your next question? I'm ready
What
when
role
you
did
are.
okay? What role did music festivals play in shaping modern pop cultures?
Music festivals like Woodstock, Monterey Pop, they were cultural moments. They weren't just about hearing bands, they were about collective identity. These festivals created temporary communities, shared experiences, and gave people a place to express themselves outside mainstream culture. They also were huge platforms for emerging artists to get discovered. Festivals became symbols of movements, like the counterculture stuff, so they played a big part in youth culture.
Okay, okay. My next question is how did technology like electric guitars and amplifiers recognize music?
Sounds like you're asking how technology, like electric guitars and recording techniques, changed music. Yeah, that was massive. Electric guitars allowed musicians to be heard over other instruments, totally new sounds and sounds you never heard before. Then recording tech changed everything too. Suddenly you had studio effects and you could layer multiple recordings. And eventually, computers and digital audio workstations let artists make music in their homes rather than in a studio. The whole landscape of music creation was different from there.
Okay,
What's
okay, nice.
next?
How can music inspire social unity?
Music can be a powerful tool for bringing people together. When you share music, it gives people from different backgrounds something in common. It can bridge cultural gaps. Think about concerts. Total strangers connect over the same artist, right? And music can be tied to social movements, giving voice to a shared struggle or vision. Plus, playing music together, like in a band or choir, creates a real sense of community and collaboration.
Oh, nice, Maya. My next question.
Oh, nice smile. What's your next question?
Okay, how does music create global understanding?
Ah, sounds like you're asking how music promotes global understanding. Right. Because music goes beyond language barriers, emotions and rhythms and melodies communicate in ways that words can't. Plus, when people share music from different cultures, it exposes them to new perspectives and traditions, and that makes us more connected. Music can build bridges where words might divide, which is pretty powerful.
Okay,
I
nice.
caught most of that. What was your next question? Glad to hear it. What's on your mind
Okay,
next?
okay. What? How can listener become more mindful of music?
That's a great question. Mindfulness with music is cool. It's like practicing active listening, really focusing on what you're hearing instead of just letting it blend into the background. Maybe picking out instruments, noticing how the music makes you feel, and thinking about the song's story. Or just taking some time to really sit with a piece without distractions. The more present you are, the more rewarding it becomes.
Okay, my nice answer.
I'm glad you thought so.
Okay, my last question is what
All right, hit me
legacy do
with.
you, okay, what legacy do you want music to leave for the world?
That's a big question. I think I'd want music to inspire connection and empathy, like a soundtrack for understanding each other better. Something that gets people to see themselves in different cultures or stories, break down walls instead of building them. Music that reminds us what we have in common, even when we seem so different. Pretty simple, but powerful, I think. Bye. Thanks for all those fascinating.
So viewers, this is my Maya. I hope you like it. Allah Hafiz.